What's up, guys? My name is Primitive Viking. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to start our Viking shield build in this video. I got the design from another YouTube channel called Dark Horse Workshop. I'll put the link to it down below in the description. It's a cool build, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be in a couple of parts just because it's going to be a long video otherwise. So let's get into it and start the build. So I started off with the 30 by 30 sheet of Baltic birch plywood. It's good to get the good quality stuff just so it prevents warping and things over time. I started off by measuring the middle point of each side so that I could mark the center. In the end, it's going to be a 27-inch shield. So I marked it up so that we can do the circle at 26 inches, meaning that we will be able to add the rope around the outside and make it 27 inches. So here I'm marking at 15 inches along the sides just so that I can find my center point. And then I line up the meter rule just between the two places and mark center from there. From that point I'll be able to get my drill and just drill a hole, which I'm doing right now. And that will give me my center point to then draw the circle around. Now I've got a piece of cardboard here which I'm going to mark out a little point at the bottom. I can then take my ruler and mark out 13 inches, which will give me 26 inches once I make that circle. So here I'm just going to make sure it's measured out correctly. Get it to the 13 inches. And then I'll make a hole with a pin, which I'm doing here, which allows me to then push a pen through it and get that circle needed. So I'm doing it on both sides. I'm going to take my hammer here and just hammer the pin into the center, which gives me that pivot point that I'm able to draw the line through. I put the pen in the hole there and just draw around. You can see it gives you a nice perfect circle. I'll go around a couple of times just to make sure that it's nice and dark so I can see the line. You have to excuse my backyard here, I'm working outside. Haven't tidied after the winter yet. So here I'm going to clamp down the board and I can use my jigsaw to cut out the circle. So at this point when you're cutting with the jigsaw, you want to keep as close to that line as you can, but don't worry too much about it being completely circular. We're going to be doing some sanding, but also there is this 1/2 inch rope that goes around the outside which gets stuck on with glue just to go around the edge, which then gets covered in rawhide, and that will give you that full 27 inches. It'll add that inch from the 26 inches. So the act of cinching it down will create that round edge of your shield when you're done. So I've sped this video up a little bit just to allow us to get through it a little bit quicker, but I'm keeping as close to that line as I can, just to make sure that we keep that nice circle. And then what I'm going to do is, as I get round, I'm just going to taper off to the side there and then carry on the cut in just a second. I'm going to flip it around like magic, just like that. So I'll go around, finish off this piece. Now what I realized was as I went round, the blade could have been newer. I was using an old blade and it was chipping up the side. So once I get around this piece and cut this chunk off here, I take my orbital sander and just give it a good sanding, just to knock off those rough edges and any splinters that were kicked up from it. So yeah, just make sure it's nice and smooth and that there's a good edge there for the glue to adhere to when we stick on the rope along the outside. So now what I'm going to do is mark from the center. I'm going to make it look like it's made out of wood boards. So what I'm going to do is mark off of center 2 inches both sides, so that I'm able to then mark out a 4-inch plank width. Now that's not completely historically accurate. I believe they were more like 3 inches, but the spacing on this I think was going to work better because I'm going to put a design on it later on. So what you can see here, I'm just making sure that I'm going to draw this line straight down one side, and it allows me to square up the other pieces, and from this line I'm able to mark the other points that I need to do for the 4-inch boards. So I make my way through here, just finish up marking these up, and then what I'll do is I'll take my pencil and I will mark all of the lines down, and what that will do is it gives me the guide to then use something sharp just to create those boards, but then also helps darken that line a little bit when you put the stain on it. So I'm just finishing up marking where these outside lines are right here. Make sure I can get those outside boards, because obviously when it was originally built you'd stick the boards together first and then cut out that circle, but because it was a solid piece I wasn't able to do that. I mean, you could, I'm guessing, just mark it first and then cut the circle, but you have to be very precise with where your center is and everything, and there could be things that go wrong. So now that I've drawn these lines out, I'm going to take a stylus that I got from Tandy leather. You can use anything that is hard edged. I just clamped the ruler down to the tip of the board and then used the stylus to run and trace those lines, and you can see it digs right down deep into the wood. So I take my time with this just to make sure that everything is lined up. It doesn't have to be perfect, because obviously back in Viking times they didn't have the machinery that we have nowadays to be able to cut a nice straight line. So it would have been a little bit wavy and not exactly parallel. So it doesn't matter if you stray a little bit with how you're clamping it down and you're doing your line. As long as it looks like it fits together at the end, you should be fine. Now what I do is I run over the line with the stylus maybe 2 or 3 times, just a light pressure, just to get the first groove started. And then I flip the stylus around, so I hold it in a kind of a knife grip, and go over it probably another 10 times just to make sure it's gouged down nice and deep into the wood. And what this allows you to do is it gives you something very visible that you can work with later on when you're doing a design and things on top of it. But also when you put the stain on top, the lines just automatically come out darker because the stain pulls inside those crevices that you've created, and helps darken it up and make it look like it's actually made out of planks. And you see there I'm putting lots of pressure into it. I'm bending the table almost that I'm going into just to get a nice deep gouge. So then what I'll do is I'll just finish off this one, and then I repeat the process on the other side, mirror it, just so it looks like the boards go all the way through, so you can see it on the back and the front, just to give it some consistency, and it just makes it look cooler as well. So now that I've done both sides, it's on to the staining. I went with a white oak because I wanted something that was more from where my past is from. So my heritage is English Viking. So they would have used a lot of white oak and So that's the color that I went with. I was just testing here to see what it was going to look like and see how many coats I had to do, and then as you see just there, I just globbed it on top, and probably put a little bit too much on, but that's okay, because you see here I'm going to be basically spreading it across the top of the shield, getting in all the little crevices that I've made, making the planks. You see it's a lot darker in those sections, which is really nice. So I go through, wipe it all on top, and then what I'll do is I'll take a second clean rag and just wipe off all the excess. And this is something that I've learned to do from doing theatre work and stuff. If you want to age something, you just kind of glob it on, and you can wipe it all off and kind of leave it as like highlights and stuff. And what I might do later on is just go through with just a light dry brushing, and just kind of lighten those panels even more just on the edges there. But you can see I'm just wiping off all the excess, and it comes out really nice. And I decided pretty quickly that that was the color that I wanted to go with, and it looks super nice between the boards there, and makes it look like it's actually made out of multiple boards. You can see there as well, it's sinking into those gouges on the outside that my jigsaw made, but that's okay, because all it does is just make it look like it's an old shield. It makes it look battle worn, and the majority of those are going to be covered by the rawhide anyway when I stitch that on, so it's not too crazy that it's going to be down there. There'll be a few bigger ones, but it's okay. And this is actually going to be the back of the shield anyway, so the nicer side you're going to see in just a second. I'm going to flip it over and do that side. Just wiping up all the excess. I did spill some down on my deck, and unfortunately that's not going to come off, but that's okay. You know, it's designed to be used and worn, so. Just trying to get all the big globules of stain off. The main thing about it is it doesn't matter if you do leave some. You see I've got some on the back there that just kind of dried. I let it dry and then flipped it over and did the other side. But all that does is kind of make it look like there's impurities in the wood, which there would have been back in those days. Nothing was perfect. You have to remember that they were going to be using 7th and 8th century techniques to create these shields, so it would have been a little bit all over the place. They had to work with what they wanted. So you see there, I just added the stain straight onto it and used quite a bit less than I did on the first side. And I'll do the same technique, just wipe it round, make sure that everything is in those cracks. Getting the coverage as best I can, getting it nice and pushed deeply into the wood. And then what I'll do with this one as well is, once I wipe off the excess, as you can see there isn't as much on this as there was on the last one, just go around the edges and neaten those up a little bit. Again, you won't see those edges because it's going to have the rope and the rawhide on it. So I take my second piece right here, piece of cloth, and just wipe off all that excess, and it comes out really nice, gives it a nice light look of that white oak. So then what I'll do is I'll just pick it up and make sure that everything is, there's nothing pooling on the backside that can affect what it looks like on the last finish, because you see I'm moving it around on this and it's gonna go on the back. So what I'll do is just pick it up and give it another quick wipe on the backside. Like I say, that side's gonna be the back, so majority of this stuff you're not going to see, because it's going to be either slung over your shoulder on your back, or it's going to be on your arm, so people won't see that bit, but it looks pretty good, and that's what it looks like there. You see it's nice and dark in those little crevices, and that's as far as I got so far. So I had to let it dry, and we go from there. And that brings us to the end of that part of the build. So you can see here, it's been a couple of days now, I've let it dry nicely. The stain looks really nice, I'm really happy with it. And you can see it's settled in the crevices here to make it look like real boards, and it's the same on both sides. See it like that. You can see down here as well where it's chipped. But you won't notice that because we're going to put the rope. I've got the rope right here. That's going to get stuck on and go around the outside like that, and then get covered in the rawhide, which I need to soak. It arrived yesterday. It's basically the same kind of thing as you get for like your dog to chew on. It's like this right now, so it's solid. You can hear that. It's solid right now. So what I need to do is put it in a bucket of water and let it soak overnight, and then it should become all malleable because it'll soak that water up. And then what happens is, as you sew it into place, every couple of hours or so you come back and just tighten all the seams, tighten all the thread that goes through, and it'll cinch it down tighter and tighter, and as it dries it'll get hard and make a nice edging to it. So yeah, I'm going to carry on with that probably over the weekend, and then this video is going to come out on Monday, and I should have it done by then, so I'll be able to do this next video, and you should get part 2 by the end of next week, hopefully. But it should be ready for the Ren Fair on the 4th of where are we? 4th of June? No, 4th of May. So 4th of May, may the 4th be with you. It'll be ready to go. So I'm looking forward to showing it to people as we walk around the Ren Fair, and it's going to be a fun addition to my Viking costume that I wear. Like I say, it should be ready within the next week. I'm going to try and keep it as close to like a weekly schedule as I can. I'm still learning how to do all of this video editing stuff, and hopefully as I get more proficient with it, I'll get quicker and be able to get more videos out as quickly as I go. Also, down below I'll put a list of all the tools and stuff that I've used during this video, just to, mostly the specialized ones, so things that I've got from Tandy leather, such as the Stylus and things like that. I'll put a little list down below, so it's easy for you to find if you want to go ahead and build your own. And I strongly advise that you do, because it is a fun little project to do, and makes any Ren Fair or historic reenactment piece complete. So yeah, and we'll be doing this. And like I said in the previous video that I did, I'm going to be doing some chainmail work and things like that. I want to make a full shirt and do some dragon scale stuff as well. I think that would be kind of cool. But yeah, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can see when the next video comes out. And I will see you in the next one for Valhalla.